We're continuing from. Oh, this is Bryce with yesterday, right? We are on 55b, Nun Hey Amud Beis. Smack in the middle, we brought a long Bryce about a plethora of laws that a 3-year-old has. People that marry her are obligated if they have incestuous relations. Laws about kahuna. But at the end of the day, the last line was if somebody who she's not allowed to have relations with has relations with her, what happens? We kill them. She is only 3, so she does not get killed. But anybody else who has relations with her, let's say her brother, her father, whoever is not allowed to have relations with her, if they have relations with her, then they will get killed. So now the Gemara is in the middle trying to figure out. Also says the Gemara, the afilu, right, smack in the middle, second to last word, third to last word, the afilu behema. Even an animal is something which we're not allowed to have relations with. So it sounds like from the Bryce that anybody who you're not have relations with, we're going to kill that person or animal. Now, if that's true, this would be a great proof for our question we had yesterday. The Mishnah says that we kill an animal, and we wanted to know, do you have to have a downfall? Meaning, do you have to be only somebody who gets killed? Do we kill the animal? Or do you also have to have embarrassment? The difference was, let's say, a non-Jew who would have relations with the animal, there's not as much embarrassment, but there is a downfall. So says the Gemara, "Vafilu behema, but behema, v'hacha dekalan iga dekalaleka, v'katani mumtinal yada." So a behema and a 3-year-old. We kill the animal. Now she doesn't get killed. So all you have is embarrassment. You see where we are, Jules?
Not yet, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Not yet. We're going to buy you those stickies.
I have.
We have a sticky. Yeah. So you have embarrassment, but you have embarrassment, but you do not have downfall because we don't kill her, and yet we say we kill the animal. So that should be a proof that you don't need to have takala, as long as you have kala. What happened over here? Oh, there we go. As long as you have kolon, so then as long as you have embarrassment, that should be enough. Says the Gemara, a very interesting line. Says the Gemara, no. Really? Since this line is very interesting, since she is meizidahi, mezid always means you do something advertently, not inadvertently, right? The mezid. The problem is she's 3 years old. So come back to that in a second. Kevin de meizidahi takala nami ika. There's some level of advertently that's happening over here. Therefore, we still can call it a downfall. Meaning, since she did something that she wasn't supposed to do, it's still that's enough to be considered a downfall because she did an aveira, and really she should get punished. But Hashem has rachmanas on her, a 3-year-old, so therefore he spares her. He spares her. He doesn't spare the animal. Now I saw this is a very not controversial, but there's a big discussion in the later authorities. How do you view a minor who does a avera? So simply we understand it says 0. Mitzvahs and averas were given to people that have a certain level of maturity of knowledge over 13. So that's one school of thought. According to that, this line needs major interpretation. A 3-year-old is called that she did something advertently. She's 3, 4, whatever it is, over 3 years old. But others, interestingly enough, say no. The laws of Torah were given even for minors. We just can't punish minors. No, we can't punish them. But that's a third school of thought seems to say that really no. The laws were given. Really, the laws were given, for people that are 12 and 13. However, at the end of the day, if she did any of this somewhat, whatever it means for a 3-year-old, 4-year-old to do something willingly, so that's still hated in front of Hashem. And for that, there's a certain level of advertence, I guess the word is, of hazada, of being amazing. But it's a very interesting discussion. Minors in halacha, are they a 0? Are they something? The difference would be, let's say, does he have to do tshuva when he becomes bar mitzvah? Maybe the parent should write down what he did, and then when he bar mitzvah, then he could do. Who knows? So that was so this line is is in the middle of that whole discussion. So that's interesting. Okay, so Amar Rava Tashma Ben Tesha Shana B'Yom Echad, a 9-year-old male who's 9 in 1 day or older. Haba Al Yivimto, if his brother dies and now he falls to Yibam, as they say, to his sister-in-law. So if he has relations with her, he acquires her. But Eino Nosin Get Achi Yagdil, but he cannot give a divorce document until he gets older. U Metama Kinida, Latame Mishkav Tachton Ke Elyon. He becomes Tame. If his wife is a Nida, he'll become Tame. Latame Mishkav Tachton Ke Elyon. It means there's such a high level of Tumah that not only the thing that you're lying on right now becomes Tame, but even let's say the mattress, 10 mattresses down, you have 10 pillows stacked up, and the highest level of Tumah, if he touches the first one, all of them are going to become Tumah, even the bottom one, meaning he's a very high level of Tumah. Posel ve'eno machil, he's posel ve'eno machil, he's able to prohibit somebody from feeding her truma. I guess what if he, if he's someone who's not allowed to marry her, a 9-year-old goes to marry somebody that he's not supposed to. Let's say he's a mamzer or something, and he marries someone he's not supposed to. He's posel, so he'll prohibit this lady from eating truma. Ve'eno machil. If he's a kohen and he gets married to her, so now he can't give her truma, even though he's 9 years old and his bia, his relations, is considered valid. However, it's not considered valid enough to fully acquire her, and to feed truma, you have to have fully acquired her. Okay, uposel es habehema me al gabe mizbeach. Let's say he has relations with the animal. That animal can no longer be brought on the mizbeach because his relations are considered valid. Viniskeles al yado. The animal will be killed if he has relations or it has relations with him. We will kill the animal. And if one of the people that he's not allowed to have relations with, he has relations with, we're going to kill them. I mean, assume that they were adults and he was a kid. We're not going to kill him, but we're going to kill them. So, same question. Here there's embarrassment because even though he's 9 years old, but he's still embarrassed. Takala leka. However, there is no downfall because we don't kill him. Vikatani niskelas al yado. We kill the animal on his behalf. So what do you see? As long as there's only embarrassment, that's enough to kill an animal. Says the Gemara, same as before. There's also some level of I don't know the word, of hazada, of being amazed, of doing something willingly. So that's enough to be called that there was a downfall here, because he still went against what Hashem wanted. Mm-hmm. That's still called a certain level of a downfall. Just Hashem had Rahmanas on you, he had pity on you, on the animal he did not have, and therefore he kills the animal. So still no proof if you can kill an animal without any form of downfall, only with embarrassment. Tashma, look at our Mishnah. Davar Acher, the Mishnah said a second reason that you kill an animal. The Mishnah said we kill the animal because look, every time it's going to walk around the marketplace, people are going to say, oh, John was killed because of that animal, or Reuben was killed because of that animal. So now says the Gemara, my love me the Seifa. In the Seifa, you have takala v'kolam. You have the fact that he's getting killed and he's embarrassed, and we kill the animal. Must be the first reason of the Mishnah, which said that that the downfall came about through this animal. All you need is kolam. I mean, the Seifa, the kala v'kolam. Since the Seifa is the end of the Mishnah requires two things, the kala v'kolam, must be the first reason saying something else. What's the something else? Kolon below takala. It must be referring to embarrassment without a downfall. What's a case of embarrassment without a downfall? The hechidami, Yisrael habal behema b'shogeg, a Jew who comes upon an animal inadvertently. He didn't know it was prohibited. So if that's true, there you only have embarrassment, because at the end of the day, it's still embarrassing to be with an animal. People are going to say, oh, that's the animal. But he doesn't get killed, so there's no downfall. That should be a proof. Says the Gemara, no. Seifa takala v'kolon. You're right. The end of the Mishnah for sure has both downfall and embarrassment. Reisha say the other way. It has takala below kolon. Maybe it only has a downfall but doesn't have any embarrassment. What's a case with a downfall and no embarrassment? Bechidami obed kocham. Our original question. Obed kocham habal behema ukedebo minei merav sheshas. A non-Jew that has relations with an animal, we mentioned that Rashi seems to say they're more prone to this, so it's less embarrassing for them. So they don't have as much embarrassment, but they still would have a downfall. We would still kill them. So at the end of the day, that question seems to be unresolved. Either you can bring a proof or you cannot bring a proof.
Downfall. What do you mean by downfall?
We kill you as a result.
That's a result.
I'm having a hard time thinking someone would inadvertently fall upon this, and then secondly, anybody would not feel embarrassed.
No, so the Gemara said earlier,
I know.
we don't need the level is not zero embarrassment versus some embarrassment. The level is a lot of embarrassment versus less embarrassment. Yeah.
The same as a guy falling off the roof.
Yes.
What?
That's right.
Falling off the roof.
Oh, that's
And having relations with right.
Mhm. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. We made it to the next Mishnah. Here we go.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. I mean, not so yay. A guy who curses God. Yeah, not so yay. If you get upset, if you get angry ever, or if you know someone gets angry, don't tell him to do this. Hamagadef, one who blasphemes God, Eino chayev, he's not obligated in getting stoned until what? Achi yafaresh Hashem, until he explicitly says God's name. Now, this I didn't have a chance to look it up in Shulchan Aruch, but God's name here means Yud Kei Vav Kei, right?
Mhm.
And now we know that we pronounce Yud Kei Vav Kei as Aleph Daled Nun Yun Ado, right? So that's not the way it's spelled.
Right.
So it seems to be also a discussion here.
Mm.
Even the way that we pronounce it, or only if you speak out the way that it's spelled. That seems to be an interesting discussion. Okay. Achi Yafar, we have to speak it out. So Amar Yeshua ben Korcha. So how do you now you want to inspect the witnesses? And they're coming and saying this guy blasphemed God. You can ask them, what did he say? So are they allowed to say God's name now? And say he cursed them like this? And I'll tell you. So at first it says, when you're in the initial stage of inspecting the witnesses, you inspect them with a nickname. B'chol yom danas edem bekinui, like Yake Yossi es Yossi. The Gemara uses Yossi. That's an example. That's an example of how they refer to Hashem. First of all, Rashi says it has 4 letters, so it's similar. Second of all, its numerical value is 86, which is the numeric value of Elokim, 86. So we choose this as the nickname. Yeah. So next bris milah, when they name the kid Yossi, you have what to say. Yeah. So his name is used for the blasphemer. Yeah. So Yossi Deichman, perfect. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. We know he's listening. He's always listening. That's right. Yossi Beshuka, right, Shavuos? So Yaki Yossi as Yossi. Okay. Now, Nigmar Hadin, meaning you don't want to say Hashem's name, so you use this instead. Nigmar Hadin, they finish off the judgment. So now, Lo Horgan Bekinui. At the end of the day, we haven't heard witnesses say exactly what he did wrong, because they haven't said he said, and then they said God's name.
Mhm.
So Elamotin Kol Adam Lachutz, you take everyone out except for the witnesses, and you ask the older witness first. Sholin es hagadol shebeineim va'omer lo, and you tell him, Omer Masha Shamata, tell me what you heard, Beferish, Vehu Omer, and he says it. V'hadayanim omdim al ragleim, and it's very interesting. And one witness, and then you do it to the second witness, and they tell you, we heard a guy say, and they explicitly say, he cursed God with God's name. And then the reaction is, the judges, they stand up, omdim al ragleim, the korin, and they rip their clothing, below ma'achan, and they never fix it up. It's such an emotional, terrible thing that a person blasphemes God. We had earlier in Sanhedrin, which is still very interesting to me, is that we refer to someone who blasphemes God as a form of heresy. It's interesting. It's called heresy. You could have heard it's not heresy. So you got upset. He blasphemed God, but the Gemara says it's a form of heresy. The Sheni Omer, and the second witness says, Afani Kamohu. I'm also like the first guy. Vashlishi Omer Afani Kamohu, and I am like him also. Now, It's interesting that the second and third witness, Rashi says, do not need to mention God's name. Meaning, even though you have to kill somebody only with two witnesses, but apparently hearing one witness say God's name and the other one saying, I'm like him, is enough. That's interesting. What? Yeah, it's interesting, right? Saying I'm a Nazir, saying me too. It's interesting that Rashi on the Mishnah says you have to explicitly say God's name, but if you hear someone else say God's name and you say, and you want to curse also, so that's not going to work. You have to speak it out explicitly. Utter it explicitly. Okay, we're gonna begin discussions about blasphemy and then go into a long talk about the seven commandments.
Specifically need 3 witnesses.
Two or three. If there happens to be a third one, yeah, it sounds like it's superfluous. You're right. I'm not sure why you have a third witness. I don't know why. You don't need a third witness. Why is he here? Why would you apply different than the second witness? The second witness says, just like the first guy, why can't the third? Good question, Steve. I don't know. Yeah, good question. Okay.
Gemara will get it.
Wait, is that?
Maybe the Gemara will answer.
Yeah, it could be. You know what it could be? I haven't got that far yet to the next Mishnah, which is in a while from now. Okay. Either way, so Tana Achi Yivarech Shem B'Shem. You have to. The Gemara uses the word Yivarech, means to bless, but it really means to curse. Meaning, the word means to bless, but we don't want to talk about someone who's cursing God, so we use a clean language. Yeah. So Achi Yivarech Shem B'Shem. So how do you know that you have to curse God with God's name? Maybe just curse God without God's name. So a guy says, Reuben says, cursed are you God? Maybe that's a problem. You have to curse him with his name. How do you know that? Menani Mili, what's the source? Amar Shmuel, the Amar Kra, the Pasuk says, V'nokeim Shem Hashem, Mos Yumas. So V'nokeim Shem Hashem says the word B'nokvo Shem Yumas. Now it's interesting, the word Nakvo, I don't know how they change the word Nakvo, but it sounds like you have to pierce through, you have to utter God's name, curse him with his name. Nakvu Shem. Nakvu Shem. What is that? Just blasphemes, yeah. I mean, there wasn't asking right now about it because it's not such a clear. But either way, Achi Var Shem Shem. How do you know? Amar Krav Nokev Shem Benokvo Shem Yumas. With his name, you have to blaspheme him with his name. The word Shem means name. Yumas. For that, you get killed. So now on this, the Gemara says, where'd you pull out that Nakvo means to blaspheme? If you know Hebrew, right? A nekev is a hole, right? Yeah, Jared, nekev is a hole. You agree? The word nekev means hole in modern Hebrew, right? A nekev, yeah, means a hole. Nekev. Okay, so mimai dehayi nokev lishna debruchehu. How do you know that the word nokev is a form of a blasphemy? Dichsiv. How do you know? Because by Bilam it says ma'ekov lokava kel. How can I curse the Jews if God didn't curse them? So what's the word it uses? Ekov. Ekov. Nokev. Ekov. Yeah. So that's fine. That's that. Now that's all the punishment. He gets killed. Most you must. The azarase, but we need to have a warning. The azarase mehacha, and the warning is this week's parsha. Yeah, true. Yeah. Elokim lo sekalo. This week's parsha that you should not curse God. Okay, so punishment, warning, and the word no cave meaning blasphemy. Now. Maybe the word no cave is like we were saying, even in modern Hebrew nowadays, it means to make a hole, to poke through something. The aim of mivras hudiksiv. How do I know? Vayikav chor b'daloso. Talked about chor. He pierced through the door. The word pierced. So what would that mean? It would sound like if you have Hashem's name written down and you make a hole through it. Maybe that's what it means. It's interesting. For that, you would get stoned. Yeah, the aim of mivras the word vayikav can also mean to pierce through something. So how do you know it means blaspheme? Because you found it in Bilam. Maybe it means to poke through, like you found it in Malachim. And the warning would be from here. The same way the non-Jews to go and destroy God's name, you should not do like them. So what's the answer? The answer is no. We need ba'ina. Shame b'shame. You have to blaspheme. You have to be no cave, whatever no cave means, God with God's name. Poking a hole through God's name and destroying it is not doing something to God with God's name. It's just poking through God's name. But we need to use to something to God with God's name, and this does not fall into that category. Maybe you have two names of God next to each other, and what do? You go through one name of God, and you come out the other side and go through the other name of God. So you're also going through God's name, right, twice. Meaning you're going through God's name with God's name now. You're sewing through it. So, says the Gemara, no, hahu no cave, v'chozer no cave who. You're just going through God's name and then going through God's name again. That's not called doing no cave to God with God's name. That's just one God's name, two God's name. I mean, I'm assuming why we're standing on our head to figure this out is, first of all, we need to fill up the page. No, but because this is a very terrible avera. You get stoned for this. You have to figure out what it is. You have to make sure you have it 100%. Oh, maybe it means this. Therefore, we're going to stone you. No, it can't be. So says the Gemara, very interesting. You're going to write God's name on the edge of your knife, ubazaba, and then you're going to pierce through the name of God on a piece of paper. So now you're piercing through God's name with God's name. Well, for that, maybe that's what we're talking about. So we say, no, hahu chorfa desakina hudika baza. That's not God's name piercing through the paper. That's your knife. Your knife is doing the piercing. It happens to have God's name written on it, but the sharp part of the knife is not God's name. It's the edge of the knife. So that doesn't count. Ema, so, okay. Ema prushe shmehu. Maybe it means just not to curse, but it just means to speak out God's name. Maybe if you utter God's name, that's what it's talking about. Yeah. Hu dichsiv. Ema prushe shmehu. Dichsiv, as we see, it says by in Bamidbar Rikach Moshe v'Aaron es hanoshim ha'ela asher nikvu b'shemos. They went. I think the context is to give them a blessing, no? And it says there nikvu b'shemos. They uttered their names. They uttered their names. And what would be the warning for that? That you cannot utter Hashem's name. Va'azara semahacha es Hashem Elokecha tira. General commandment of you shall fear God. Fear God, interestingly enough, means one of the applications of fearing God would be you can't just utter His name, right? Same with honoring parents, fearing parents. You can't call them by their name. Yeah. By not calling them by their name, you're showing a sense of deference, a sense of awe. By not uttering God's name, unless it's in the context of davening, you show a level of deference there. Okay. So first of all, the Gemara says, no, this is definitely not going to work. Chada de ba'ina shem b'shem. First, you have to do something to God with His name. This is just uttering His name. So that's not going to work. Veleka, you don't have that qualification. But od, hadyale azharas asay. What was the original prohibition here? You shall surely fear God. It's a positive commandment. It's a positive thing telling you not to do something, right? You shall have fear of God. But we know to get killed, you have to have a warning first. Says the Gemara, v'azharas asay lo shmei azhara. No. A warning has to be in the negative. Do not do this. It can't be that when we say that you need a warning in order to kill you, the warning has to be in the negative, not in the positive. So therefore, you shall surely fear God. That's not the azhara, the warning that we need, that we require in order to kill you. So 2 strikes on that one. So, okay. So at the end of the day, we remain with our pasuk that no cave means to blaspheme God with God's name. And we see from Bilam that the word ekov does mean to curse. Says the verse in Vayikra about the person who blasphemes God. What did he do? Vayikov bana isha Yisraelis es Hashem vayikala. He went and he blasphemed God. So says the Gemara, Lemeimer de nokev klalahu. What, from here you see that the word vayikav means to blaspheme. You know what it means? Maybe that part of the Torah of the blasphemer, he needed 2 requirements. V'dilma ada avid trevayu. He had to vayikov, he had to utter God's name. Stam, Yud Kei Vav Kei, he uttered that name. And then he also cursed God. How do you see that vayikov means? Vayikov itself, that word means to blaspheme God. Maybe it means to utter God's name. And vayikalo then says, and then he cursed God. So maybe we killed him because of those 2 qualifications. to utter God's name and then to curse him. Says the Gemara, no. Lo sakadatik. Don't think that blasphemer, the one that blasphemed God in Vayikra, the reason why we killed him was because he did both of these things. He uttered God's name and then he cursed God. No. The reason he was killed is because he blasphemed God, and the word Vayikov means to blaspheme God. How do I know this? The ksiv, when it says about his punishment, what does it say? Hotias amikalo. It says we're going to take out to get stoned, the mikalo. It just refers to him as the blasphemer. It doesn't refer to him velo ksiv hotias hanokev v'hamikalo. It doesn't say they removed the utterer of God's name and the blasphemer of God's name. Sounds like one of his issues was not that he uttered God's name. It was that because he blasphemed God. Shmamina chadahi. From there, it's all one thing. So 2 places that you learn that Vayikov really means to blaspheme, and the halacha is you have to blaspheme Hashem with his name. And Tana Rabbanon says in the Brisa Ish. In that Vayikra Chav Daled, when it talks about the blasphemer, it says Ish. Ma Talmud Lomer Ish. It's funny, usually Ish tells you like Ish v'lo katan, a man and not a minor, a man, not a woman. Here it says Ish. Ma Talmud Lomer Ish l'rabos es ha'oved kochavim. And here's the beginning of the discussion. It says, really there, I guess there it says Ish. Maybe that's why. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it says Ish. It says Ish twice. That's why it is. So maybe it does come to exclude a minor. It just says it Ish twice. Yeah, why twice? Ma Talmud Lomar, Ish l'rabos es ha'ovdei kochavim. We're coming to include even a non-Jew. If he blasphemes God, he will get killed. Shemuzharin al birchas Hashem. They are warned on blaspheming God. Ki Yisroel. However, ve'ein neharogin ela b'sayif. They get a lesser punishment than the Jew does. They only get their head cut off, and they do not get stoned. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have Jules there clapping. Shekol misa amura b'bnei Noach einu ela b'sayif. We're about to launch into a whole discussion about what do the non-Jews have to do, what their violations are, and whatever their violations are, they get killed. What kind of punishment? They get killed by the sword. How do we know? Rashi says, it says in Bereshis, it says in Noach, it says, "Ba'adam damo yishafach," a person's blood will be spilled, and it doesn't mention anything else by them. Just says his blood will be spilled. Sounds like from there it's like the least form. Meaning a strangulation won't spill any blood. Interesting. Streifa won't spill any blood. Skila won't spill any blood. You're left with Saif, cutting off a head. A lot of blood comes out.
Stoning ought to release some blood.
Yeah, I guess. So maybe it means a lesser form punishment.
Yes.
You're right. So, yes, stoning would release some blood. Maybe at first the least form. What is that?
That wouldn't be dam nefesh.
It's not dam nefesh. Dam nefesh is like your lifeblood. Very interesting. Maybe that's from like your lungs, from the head. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Okay, so Amar of Yitzchak Nafcha said, Lo nitzracha ela l'rabos esa kinuyin. No. That ish is not coming to include. Sorry, I skipped. The ha mehacha nafka, mehasam nafka. You're learning from here. Ish. Learn out from over there. Where's over there? Over there is by Bereshis, and this is really going to be the verse that we're going to extrapolate the famous seven commandments of the non-Jews. There it says Hashem. We're going to see on Nun Vav Amud Beis that this whole pasuk is extra, and the Gemara is going to go through each word, deriving from there the 7 prohibitions of the non-Jew of a non-Jew. So one of them is in the pasuk says Vayitzav Hashem. The Gemara is going to learn that later. Hashem means to curse God. So don't learn from ish. Learn from Hashem. Zubirchas Hashem. So Amar Rabbi Nafka lo nitzrach ela l'rabos esa kinuyin. So Rabbi Nafka says this ish. This one second. Ish. Okay, so it sounds like Rabbi Nafka says it should come to teach you that the non-Jews are also restricted on not only to blaspheme God with his name, but even with a kinui is like a different one of his names. Not only Hashem, Elokim, Kel, Shakai, all those are references of God's name. Not only the Shem HaMiyuchad, the special name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, but any other name also. Meaning he agrees that a non-Jew is warned on blasphemy, to blaspheme God, but he learns that from somewhere else, and he says they should be included, that they should also not only be prohibited from blaspheming God with His name, but even one of the derivations of God's name, even one of the secondary names. That opinion is like Rav Meir. I'll leave it to Rav Meir. What did Rav Meir say? The Tanya says the Brisa, ish ki yikal elokov, a person who's going to blaspheme God, v'nasa chato, he's going to bear sin. Ma Talmud lomar, what's ish v'alo kvar nemar? It already says the mere commandment to blaspheme God was already mentioned earlier. It was already mentioned earlier. Yeah, it's really the next pasuk, but right. It already says v'nokev shem Hashem os yumas. If you blaspheme God, you'll surely be killed. So what does it mean? Ish ki yikala elokav v'nasachetu. You should surely bear sin. What sin are you bearing? We're already telling you that you're getting killed. So you have two verses telling you that you get killed. If you only had that verse that says, if you blaspheme God, you should surely be killed. You would have thought you would have thought that you should only be killed when you blaspheme God with the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. Bilvad minayin lerabos. How are you going to include Kol HaKinuyin, all the other names of Hashem also? Talmud lomar ish ki yikala elokav. A person who is yikala elokav, a person who blasphemes God, mikol makom. Any form of God's name that you use to blaspheme God, that will then you will surely be killed. That is the opinion of Rav Meir. However, Chachamim Omrim, like our Mishnah says, Al Shem HaMeyuchad b'Misa. Only the unique, the special name, only that gets killed. Ve'ala Kinuyin be'Azhara. But on the derivations of God's name, the secondary names of God, those are only be'Azhara, meaning you did something wrong, but you did not, but you won't get killed for that. Now, interesting. How do you know that Yud Kei Vav Kei is considered God's unique name? So Rashi says in Parsha Shmos, Hashem tells Moshe, tell them my name, and then it says, Zeh Shmi La'olam. This will be my name forever. I don't know exactly what that means, forever, as opposed to other names will not be forever. But it sounds like that name, Yud Kei Vav Kei in Shmos, the 3rd chapter of Shmos, when Hashem spoke to Moshe, he said, tell him my name, and it was Yud Kei Vav Kei, and that is my name forever. Yeah. So it sounds like something unique about that name. That's why we refer to that name as the Shem HaMeyuchad. And therefore there are a lot of more restrictions on that name than the other names of Hashem, which we just said it will only get an ashara, so you'll be over the prohibition, but you won't get killed. Upliga de Rav Miyaisha. So this is against the opinion of Rav Miyaisha. Yeah, so now, once again, according to Rav Meir, a Jew gets killed even for the derivations of God's name. Therefore, Rav Yitzchak Nafcha said, just like a Jew gets killed for the derivations of God's name, the other names, so too use ish to include a non-Jew should also get killed for those names. However, that's not like the Chachamim. The Chachamim hold that a Jew is only warned to not utter any of God's names, but doesn't get killed. Therefore, we're not going to kill a non-Jew in the place that we don't kill a Jew. So it's not going to make sense. If a Jew doesn't get killed for uttering the other ones of God's names, we're for sure not going to kill a non-Jew. That is against Rav Miyaisha. Damer Rav Miyaisha ben Noach shebirech es Hashem b'kinuyin, a ben Noach, a non-Jew, who blasphemes God with one of the other names of Hashem, according to the Rabbanan, who hold that a Jew does not get killed for that. According to the Rabbanan, chayev, a non-Jew will get killed. So, my time, why should a non-Jew be more strict than a Jew? My time, the Amar Kra, it says in the verse over there by the blasphemer, Vayikra Chavdalet Zayin, Ki Ger Ke'ezrach. Ger the Ezrach hu de ba'inon benakvu shem, aval oved kochavim afilu bikinui. It says there, Ki Ger Ke'ezrach, Ger Ke'ezrach, someone like a resident, a dweller, meaning a Jew. Only he gets killed for uttering. He only gets killed for uttering the special name of God. But a non-Jew he's not the Ger Ezrach, he's not a resident, a permanent resident. He'll get killed for any kind of usage of God's name. That is Rav Miyaisha. So now Rabbi Meir, who learns out that a non-Jew gets killed for the derivations of God's name, the other ones from Ish, what does he do with this verse? Remember, there are two people that hold that a non-Jew will get killed for uttering one of the derivations of God's names. So it's Rav Meir, but he holds that a Jew also gets killed for that. Or Rav Miyaisha will hold that a non-Jew gets killed, a Jew doesn't kill, but only a non-Jew gets killed. But they each have different verses. Rabbi Meir, what does he do with this verse that Rav Miyaisha uses? He already has Ish. He doesn't need this verse. Avid lei, ger ve'ezrach b'skila, specifically a Jew, a resident, a dweller, he gets stoned. But he will get a lesser punishment. He'll only get the sword. And as Jules said earlier, yay. Okay, so talking that, you would have thought Hov Israbu. You would have thought he should be the same as a Jew. Once he's included all the way. Kamash Milan, the verse teaches you that no, he's included for the death penalty, excluded for which death penalty? Okay, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka, Aliba de Rabbanon, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka. Yeah, what is that?
No, it's, they keep making swords. Sounds like, hey, that's not a bad way to go.
Yeah, not a bad way to go.
Yeah. Doesn't sound too good.
Doesn't sound too good.
Yes.
So Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka, Aliba de Rabbanon. So Rabbi Yitzchak Nafka, who held that the rabbis hold that a non-Jew will be this that only a Jew is only warned, no death penalty if you utter one of the other names of God. So what does he do with Keger Ke'ezrach Mai Abedle? So he says, Ger ve'ezrach hu de'be'inan shem b'shem. Only a Jew needs to blaspheme God with God's name. Aval oved kochavim, a non-Jew, lo be'inan shem b'shem. You don't need to blaspheme God with God's name. Sounds like any form of blasphemy. To blaspheme God will be punishable. So if that's true, ish lamali, why did the Torah repeat it and say ish? And now it's a line that comes up often. Dibra Torah kaloshim b'nei adam. Sometimes the Torah speaks more in the language of man, so to speak, and therefore, in this context, saying ish was a normal way to speak, and don't derive anything from the second form of ish. Oh, okay, here we go. Tanu Rabbanon, Sheva mitzvos, the famous 7 mitzvos that a non-Jew is commanded in. Sheva doesn't stop b'nei Noah. Here are the following 7. Of course, it's going to be a machlokas. Don't worry. So, but the first opinion holds dinin, laws. What are laws? So, Jared, this is your mitzvah, yeah? I mean, Baruch Hashem, you're Jewish, but I'm just saying, dinin, laws, yeah? So we're going to see, either it means the non-Jews have to set up court systems to make sure that the 7 mitzvahs are kept, or it means, or maybe in addition, it means they should set up courts to for general society should run, stealing, killing, things like that, basic societal functions. They have to set up the court systems. Okay, that's dinim. That's 1. Birchas Hashem, to blaspheme God, is 2. Avodah Zarah is 3. It's interesting. Which 7 did we choose for the non-Jews? It's a very interesting thing, no?
Yeah.
They're not we chose, Hashem chose. Dinim of Birchas Hashem, blaspheme God. Avodah Zarah, idol worship. Gilui Arayos, illicit relations. Shvichas Damim, murdering somebody. Vigezel, to steal. And this one's very interesting.
Yeah.
The Aver Menachai. Put that in there, right? Aver Menachai, to eat a limb of a live animal. So, you cut the guy's hand, you cut the animal's hand off, and you eat that. Interesting. Aver Menachai.
There must have been a thing that went on then. There must have been a thing that went on in society.
The only reason I'm uncomfortable saying that because then these laws would only be commanded when society does that. I'd rather say that they're eternal for non-Jews forever.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to know. I mean, we're going to see. It's derived from a verse.
Yeah.
And there is what to say about Avraham Menachai. It's the 7th one. It's commanded during Noach. There's an aspect of Shabbos with Avraham Menachai. One time I heard a whole share about this, but yeah, Avraham Menachai definitely stands out. But
Well, the other question, the non-Jews seem to be punished more for doing the things than the Jew was.
We're going to see they don't need
Yeah,
any.
it's-
They,
it's
all they need is a
exactly-
warning in the Torah,
Yeah.
not a warning and a death, and the fact that they get killed. Right? Wait, yeah, we'll see. Okay, so Rabbi Chanina, turning the page. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamla Omer af ala dam menachai. Even if you they eat the blood, the dam menachai. I mean, Abram menachai obviously to me is something which needs a lot more explanation. What's so wrong with it? You know, one of the svarim that talk about the reason for the mitzvahs has to some depth to Abram menachai that I don't understand why it's such a yeah. Abram menachai. So dam menachai. He says an eighth one is even blood of a lion, not just the limb, even the blood. Rabbi Chidcha Omer af ala sirus. They're not allowed to castrate a human or an animal. That'd be number 9. Rabbi Shimon Omer af ala kishuv, also for sorcery. That'd be number 10. Rabbi Yossi Omer kol Omer parshas kishuv. Kol ha'omer b'parshas kishuv. Any one of the sorceries that are said in the parsha of sorcery, a benuach is muzar alav. A non-Jew is prohibited to do those. How do I know? It says about us going. It says lo yimatzei b'cha ma'avir. It says about the Jewish people. There should be nobody found amongst you who's going to be ma'avir beno bito be'esh, a form of sorcery to put your kid through the fire. Kosem is another form of sorcery. How do you translate kosem? They don't translate it. Okay. Kosem, Ksamim, Ma'onim, Menachesh, Mechashe, Vechover, Chaver, Veshola, Obi, Yedoni, Vedor, Shalamesan. That's you're speaking to the dead and seeking them out. And so all of those 7, 8, 9 forms of sorcery is all Biglala To'evas Te'ela because of these abominations. Hashem Elokecha Morish Osam Mipanecha. He's going to drive the non-Jewish nations out of the lands, out of Israel, and you're going to conquer them. Meaning, why is he driving the non-Jews out of there? Because they're doing all this terrible sorcery. Oh, so what do you see? They're commanded in sorcery. Now this opinion holds, Velo anash ela imkain his here. We're not going to punish them unless they were first warned. So we're going to say not that in a second, but this opinion holds, even a non-Jew has to have a warning and a punishment in the Torah, just like a Jew. But that is not according to everybody. Rabbi Lezer Omer, according to Rabbi Lezer Omer, af ala kilayim. Af ala kilayim. So even kilayim just means the mixtures. They're prohibited from mixtures. Which mixtures? Mutarin b'nei noach lilbosh kilayim. They can wear wool and linen. That's fine. Vilizroa kilayim. They can also plant things that are mixtures, form of mixtures. A whole part of Shulchan Aruch is called kilayim. Mishnah is all about kilayim that we can't do. The ein asurin ella. Beharbas behema. They can't mate.
Yes.
What's the word for it? They can't put two animals together, mate two animals together.
They just say mate.
Mate, okay. Ubehar kavas ha'ilin, or to graft different trees. So those two form of mixtures, they are prohibited in. Yeah.
Some meals forbidden.
Yeah, sounds like that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to the next one quickly. Menani Emilia, how do I know that these 7 commandments, where they come from? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Kra, there's a verse in Bereshit which is extra about Adam Rishon being commanded to eat from all the trees. He was already told that earlier. So we're going to learn out each part of this verse. It's very interesting. Out of all the places in the Torah, Hashem commands him to eat from the trees, and from there you learn out these 7 commandments. So, you can surely eat from any tree. Vayitzav, command, Elu adinin, that refers to the laws. V'cheinu omer, ki yedativ laman asher yitzava, as banav v'gomer. You could command your children about the laws. Hashem, the word Hashem, zu birchas Hashem, that refers to blaspheming God. V'cheinu omer, similar, it says, v'nokim shem Hashem osumas. It says, v'nokim shem Hashem, the name Hashem, you'll surely be killed if you blaspheme God. Elokim, zu avodos kochavim, that refers to idol worship. V'cheinu omer, lo yelecha elokim, this is parsha. You shouldn't have any other gods. Ala Adam, about the person in the pasuk, zu shvichas damim, that refers to killing somebody. V'cheinu omer shover dam adam b'dam yishafach. You should kill somebody, and it says the word adam over there, referring to someone who gets killed. Lamor, the word to saying, zu gili arayas, that refers to illicit relations. V'cheinu omer lamor hein yishalach ish as ishto. the word lamer is used by a person who has illicit relations. The halcha me'ito v'haisa lishacher should go from her husband to another man. Mikol etzagan, you should eat from any of the trees from this gan, from this garden. The low gezel, but you can't steal. Achol tochel v'lo ever menachai. You should surely eat. That refers to ever menachai. We'll continue from here tomorrow.
Yashkoach. Oh.